I see that council is here and most of the staff that would be involved are here. So I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. This is the June 22nd, 2021 meeting of the Common Council of the City of Platteville. It's 7 p.m. and we are holding this meeting via Zoom. And is Candace, who's calling roll? Candace. Oh, Nicola, are you calling the roll?
I can. I think Candace should be here any moment, but I can go ahead and get started.
Okay.
Bob Dawes?
Here.
Eileen Nichols?
Here.
Ken Killian?
Here.
Isaac Shanley?
Here.
Jason Otts?
Here.
Kathy Kopp?
Here. Good. All right. We will start this evening with a special presentation. Let Eric Flesch introduce our presenter from TKWA. And this is a museum presentation, and I do see Wayne is on. So Eric, you can go ahead and introduce, and we'll hear your presentation.
Very good. Thank you so much, everyone, for welcoming us to present the fruits of a year-long master planning process that has been shepherded along very skillfully by Wayne Record and Andrew Peters. So it's been a delight to work with them, and they've got a presentation that they've prepared for you this evening. We'll try to both keep it brief while also presenting as much appropriate information. And then in your packet, you should have the full comprehensive site and facilities plan packet for your reference as well. And then we'll look forward to receiving hard copy prints of the packet as well that we can strategically make accessible to all of you and others as well. But I'd like to introduce Wayne and Andrew.
Hi, thanks, Eric. Can everyone hear me? Again, I'm Wayne Record. I'm the Director of Marketing and Strategy at Kubala-Washotko Architects based in Cedarburg. And as Eric said, we've been working together for about a year on this master plan. Andrew, do you want to introduce yourself first before we get into the...
Yeah, absolutely. I'm Andrew Peters. I'm a project architect with the Kubala-Washotko Architects. I've been working with Wayne and with Eric and museum staff on this master plan. We're really excited to show everybody what we've been working on, what we've been developing. I'm going to share my screen here and bring up my presentation.
And while Andrew is doing that, I'll also mention that not with us this evening is our intern who worked very hard on this project as well. Wayne Hastings is an arts administration graduate from Indiana University and has helped us over the past year as well. So what we'd like to do, and as Eric mentioned, we're going to give you a summary of what's contained within the full master plan booklet in the interest of time, but we're going to try and hit on most of the highlights and then allow for questions as they may arise at the conclusion. So what is it that we are trying to accomplish with this master plan? I'm going to go through a number of the key objectives. First of all, we wanted to help the staff, museum board, friends of the museums, City of Platteville leadership, and other stakeholders translate the strategic goals into clearly defined conceptual plans that can serve as a phased implementation guide. That's what we hope we've been able to achieve. Within that, there are things that came out as we learned about this. We wanted to take increased advantage of the museum's unique cultural and natural assets. We hope to create a 21st century visitor experience. Importantly, we wanted to better connect with local audiences while also creating an appealing attraction for visitors from a distance. We wanted to make the museum campus more appealing to families with children, as well as visitors of all ages. Significantly, we wanted to recommend impactful yet cost-effective site improvements that create opportunities for active local service group and donor participation. We wanted to recommend building facility layout and space usage improvements that would help increase staff operational efficiency and improve visitor services. We wanted to evaluate and define which spaces within the buildings are best suited for exhibits, education and social activities, collection storage, and administrative needs. We wanted to identify ways to better engage exterior spaces as a teaching tool, especially as it relates to contemporary concepts of land use in the driftless region. We wanted to highlight opportunities for integration of work by regional artists and artisans. And ultimately, we wanted to create this document, which would be an appealing visual and narrative record that communicates both the project vision and helps support the museum in its fundraising efforts. So that's what we hope to accomplish in here. So what I'm moving on to right now is that as you read through the master plan document independently, you'll find at the front end, there's a set of written brief narratives called patterns. And I wanted to just explain them briefly and their role in this process. Before we even begin designing anything, we want to understand what the real issues are and what it is we're trying to solve for. And our approach is to use a thing called patterns. And basically, it's just identifying what are the key issues, writing them down, and then providing a written solution statement. And these patterns work at all levels of scale, from very large site-based concerns to more detailed building issues. And ultimately, these patterns form kind of the DNA of intent for the master plan project, and they can be read and understood independently of any visuals that are created. So let me give you just one example of a pattern, and hopefully this will help you, get the feel for them as you look at it independently. So this is pattern number 5. And the pattern has a structure of 3 or 4 main components. There's a visual that's representing something of the pattern. There's a title, there's an issue statement, and a solution statement. So here in this case, we took a look at the depot building. And so we said, here was our issue. The depot building houses the entrance to the lead mine and admirably serves its essential role as portal to the underground. It is utilitarian in appearance and function, but little else. Can a larger vision for this structure and the spaces around it enhance the visitor experience? So that's what we asked. The solution narrative that we came up with was this. Think of the mine entrance area as the hub of outdoor activity on the museum campus. It can become a primary tour destination and a departure point for train excursions. Equally, a reimagined depot hub can better define the main pedestrian pathway between buildings while supporting the adjacent new children's play area. And equally, consider ways to enhance experiential and interpretive opportunities. So this is one pattern. You'll see how it gets expressed here as we move in. And just on this slide, you'll see the titles of a few other selected patterns to give you the sense that this is one out of many.
So then moving into the existing site plan right now, just as an overview, we have the Rock School and Hammer Robbins that are highly visible off of Main Street. We have a really, really large site, an above ground railroad, and we have an underground mine tour, which is pretty unique. But right now, one of the key things that we noticed is that while the Rock School and Hammer Robbins have all kinds of visible presence on Main Street as a gateway, the main entrance is actually lacking quite a bit in presence on the street. There's no great connection from the back of the building to the whole rest of the site. And then a lot of the things on the site are kind of disconnected, spread out, and there's no good way to circulate around the entirety of the site. So one of the things that we really focused on was thinking about the museum experience as not just the Rock School and the Hammer Robbins buildings, and not some of these other elements, but really the entire site, and how can we utilize everything that we have here to its maximum potential. So then jumping ahead into the overall master plan, site plan, one of the key components here was creating a new front entry on Main Street in its existing location, but then with an interior reconfiguration, which we'll get to in a little bit, strengthen that connection through the building from the north to the south. And what we want to do is make sure that when people are arriving from anywhere on the site and they find their way to Hanmer Robbins, that there's a really clear procession, a really clear way to get in and out of the building, and then ways for that experience to spill inside and outside throughout the site. We've also introduced circulation paths around the site that takes visitors and museum patrons throughout the whole site. And then thinking about, again, the museum, not just inside of these buildings, but treating the entire site as an interpretive opportunity. So we have native landscape, we have an oak savanna that talks about some of the more natural features of the Driftless region. And then we also have these pavilions that we're calling interpretive pavilions. So not only are those just donor opportunities and simple structures, but they're places where people could sit and hang out. They're places where you could have individual, unique interpretive signage and other draws that take you through the whole site. Native landscape to fill in part of the railroad, to help draw people back into a part of the site that right now is almost completely inaccessible. And then we really thought about strengthening the connection between the assets that we have, Hanmer Robbins, the depot, and the rock school, and thinking about the space in between as this kind of highly active connective tissue to create that visitor experience. We'll see in the next couple of slides a reimagined train and railroad depot that strengthens the connection to the mine tour and brings some of that outside. And then also thinking about a children's STEAM play area that takes up the entirety of the interior of the above ground railroad, and then also connects to the hoist house. And this whole thing is part of the museum procession. Again, strengthening that connection between all of these parts of the site, and also creating this experiential path that allows a much more dynamic way to experience the museum. Another thing to point out is we have the space to the east here by the existing Cora building. So some of the things that we've identified on the site plan as future phasing is potential future parking area off-site that's currently off-site, and then also opportunities for where future conditioned storage expansion may happen, depending on need. So again, just talking about the museum entry experience, right now, like I said, the Hanmer Robbins and the Rock School building, as we all know, are highly visible on the corner. And right now that the entrance is tucked back and it's dwarfed by the grand nature of these other buildings, which we shouldn't take away from those buildings because they are absolutely incredible. The idea for the existing entry is just a modest reconfiguration, but really using, again, these assets that we have, like this big blank wall at the East Gallery display space, and that becomes an opportunity for a local art, for a mural. We also have an exterior plaza here that's newly paved, and again, opportunities for something that's uniquely Platteville and uniquely related to the mining museum. That's a draw, that when people come here, they want to take their photo with it to say, I was in Platteville today, and look, I got my picture taken by the big pickaxe. You know, something like that, which would be a drastic improvement over what we have right now, which is this tucked away front entrance. The other thing that we're really highlighting here is this visual connection between inside and outside. And when you walk up to the entry in the new plan, it really draws you through the site. So again, you can connect to the rest of the site on the south, and then through an expanded gift shop from the north.
Okay, so here's how this pattern speaking about a campus hub plays out in our plan. This is existing conditions. And so what we were saying is, let's reimagine this. And many of you have probably been to Disney or to Great America or other places. And one of the things that if you look carefully at how places like that organize experiential rides and activities, is that the experience doesn't happen once you're on the ride. It happens before then. And here, when you walk into this, you have this big sea of asphalt. There's no clear connection to the museum buildings themselves. When we reconfigure this, there are issues of safety and pathways. And so we said, how do we redo this? So let's look at the next slide. So by creating a series of really simple pavilion-like structures, and then reconfiguring some aspects of the site around here, you can do a lot of things. You immediately enhance wayfinding. You create a covered area for staging people to get on the train. You provide covered area for the train itself. You create an area that provides enhanced security and safety for kids in the new STEAM play area. And you improve a pathway down to the hoist house. Here in this picture, what you're seeing to the right is the edges of the new children's STEAM play area. And what we want to do here are a couple things. One, this hasn't been detailed greatly within the master plan. That's for the next level of development. But the big picture idea is to incorporate place-based and hands-on learning areas here, including what we envisioned as a sort of a replica of the original Badger huts, something that kids could climb over and under and through, and providing other outdoor geoscience team activities, maybe a Paleozoic rock sculpture, with man-made rock outcrops, or, elements of the Platteville Formation, or scaled up models of marine fossils. There's a lot of things that could happen in here. And the beauty of it is now it's all more directly connected to the train depot hub itself. Next slide. And along with that, moving over to this side of the back side of Hanmer Robbins, again, there's not a clear pathway through from here over to the, or a clear pathway that is really appealing. It's really a lot of asphalt and nothing else. So let's go on to the next slide. So this actually, let's finish this. This is the other side of the train. Yeah, thank you. Go back one. All right. So what we're saying is the museum experience should be more than just inside the building. And so how do we create a more experiential set of activities that are appealing to all ages? And we envision a pathway with native plantings, a minor oak savanna, interpretive opportunities. As Andrew had mentioned, we wanted to create invitations for people to gather outside for small class activities, or for small group individuals activities, or just for one-on-one. And so this is a new plaza area with native stone. We could create brick pavers that are donor opportunities. There are interpretive opportunities. If you look closely to the back of, go back one, Andrew. If you look closely to the back of the of this image, you can see the there's a new overhang that's that shelters that east entrance. And for when you have large group activities and vendors, this can be a really nice gathering place and staging area. This is a view out in the lawn. And again, what you see is really a simple, relatively simple outdoor pavilion structure that can serve as a covered picnic area, a classroom. It can serve as an area to highlight artifacts that you have, but you've got this great diversity of artifacts that are sitting outside right now. And so you can highlight them more fully and provide better interpretation for them. And just overall, providing more invitations for people to get out in the site while still preserving the majority of the open space of the site for your large group activities, which is, of course, an important consideration.
So now kind of going into the building, we talked a lot about the site to this point. And really the interior of Hammer Robbins and the Rock School starts to connect some of those ideas in a little bit more of a detailed way. Right now, the building entry, as you come in, it's really undersized, especially for large groups. Right now, the entry, you come in, there's the museum store desk, and then really you're confronted right away with what is essentially back of house admin office space. And then the main circulation through the building, which is the public access to the rest of the museum, really takes you down a very interior, very dark, non-inviting corridor that essentially is surrounded by support spaces. We have a shop, mechanical space, toilets, storage. And one of the things that we sought to do, talking with Eric and the museum staff, is better connect this front entrance to the entirety of the museum, and then really open this up to the south to the rest of the site. And then how can we make this interior corridor more open and welcoming and usher people through the building and through the museum? So really it's not a crazy transformation, but one of the things that we did is just reconfigure the admin space and relocate this. With an existing historic building, we are limited by the structure that we have and by the footprint that we have. But one easy thing that we could do is move the admin office from directly in the entry and then open this all up to a very open, light-filled, active museum store that becomes part of the whole museum experience in itself. And what that allows us to do is create a new entrance to the north, a new entrance to the south, so people arriving from the rear of the building don't get lost anymore, and then allow this all to connect through the site. The museum store really now is just a part of the open circulation space, which leads into the corridor in its existing location. But rather than having this closed off storage space, we open this up a little bit with an admin office to the back to bring kind of, life and activity back here. And then a new maker space to kind of anchor this floor here. This is also the location that we showed in one of the previous images for new public art and new museum branding, and that welcome entry plaza here. Level 1 in its existing configuration, it works really well. In our plan, we're saying level 1 is going to remain as the premier exhibit space in this building. Further evaluation on whether or not these windows can be open depending on light sensitivity and what the collections are and needs are. But really, ultimately, level 1 stays as the premier exhibit space of the building. And then moving up, what we have here is right now an elevator access to level 2 that's existing. And then we have these really phenomenal historic spaces up here that over time have been chopped up with partition walls and kind of taking away from the historic nature of the spaces here. And really what that led us to think about is opening this up for future public access. Collection storage right now is always going to be a reality. It's always going to be necessary. But how do we bring some life up to level 2? And that's how we started thinking that really level 2 has the opportunity to be that storage and display space, and function as gallery, exhibit, storage, all in one in a really efficient way. Again, maximizing the footprint that we have in this building. And then Rock School right now, you know, it's not open to the public, and it's this kind of really prominent, fantastic historic building on the corner. And it's, when you come into town, you know, and you're coming down Main Street, you see it right on the corner, but right now you can't go in it if you're visiting the museum. So it's a really important asset on the campus. And so right now, in its current configuration, there's exhibit space on the interior, but the interior is very separate from the exterior. There's really storage packed around the perimeter, and then some of the other main spaces in the building are also dedicated to building storage as well. So then the idea here is really open this up to the extent possible. Let some of these windows, you know, go back to their historic nature and let the light in. Open up this ground level to a flexible exhibit space and allow people into the building and to circulate around. Some of these existing displays and dioramas may stay in place depending on what is important to the museum. But again, allowing the public into this building is absolutely imperative. The classrooms, a new classroom space and multi-purpose space in this building will also allow, you know, visitors to the museum of all ages, you know, kids that are coming to the STEAM playground or children's programming, you know, rock labs, things like that, you know, really any activity that could use a multifunctional classroom could take place in this building as well. And that's the image we have down here. And then in Rock School, really right now, with the basement functioning as storage and level 2 functioning as paper collections, I think in the short term, at least, those are still good uses for that part of the building. But the main level here is really where we have the opportunity to open this up to the public.
Nicely done, gentlemen. Thank you. We'd love to entertain some questions, but maybe I will just kind of say that, boy, there's been a lot of thought, there's been a lot of introspection. On July 1st will mark my 3rd year with the Mining and Rollo Jameson Museums, and I can honestly say that this comprehensive plan really reflects what I have come to understand as the nature of this museum. It's an amazing community asset that truly reflects what we call Wisconsin's know-how and the can-do spirit that's so unique to Platteville. Of course, this year marks the 50th anniversary of the grand opening of the Mining Museum. That was back in 1971, the 45th anniversary of the rediscovery and purposeful opening of the Bevins lead mine in the backyard for the Platteville Sesquicentennial and American Bicentennial back in '76, and it's the 40th anniversary of Rollo Jameson's museum opening in Platteville. So this plan really celebrates the future of the museums to ensure that the deep lessons that it has to offer the community can continue for generations to come. So thank you for listening, and we'll be delighted to entertain any questions.
I have a general question. What is the material in the children's area as far as overhead? It looks like lumber, but what is it?
All right, guys. So
yeah.
if we go back to that hub, the hub rendering, maybe that
Yeah.
the entry to the playground.
Well, it's shown in this conceptual image. It's wood. It doesn't have to be that. Wood is an easier material typically to work with. And it's something that could be done by a local contractor and service group as opposed to something that's made out of metal.
And I think,
So
yes, part of the kind of part of the thing that we've thought about here with these structures is that they may be also reminiscent of the interior of the mine. So, you know, heavy timber, large support structures like that. You know, at this conceptual stage, we think that that's something that would be fairly appropriate for the site.
What I'm wondering about is maintenance. If it's wood, for example, what's it going to take in the way of maintenance to maintain these various pieces, whatever you want to call them? Not only here on the overall site, but all over. Because that maintenance costs money, labor. So I'm looking at long term.
Well, one thing you may notice, Ken, is that we didn't propose the construction of major new buildings. Rather, this is a kind of light construction. We don't, in fact, make any modifications to the depot other than adding these two pergola-like structures. The one that would cover the train would have a roof similar to the kind of a metal roof that is on the depot building. So that would be a low maintenance structure. And then this railroad crossing, it's more of an open pergola. So, modest maintenance costs over time for these simple structures. And then the playground area would be largely open to the sky, with the exception of, say, what we see just real conceptually. There might be a kind of an entryway to a Paleozoic park, might be a badger hut-like, tunnel-like experience, a small tunnel experience, but otherwise open to the sky.
My next question is elevator to the area that we've used in the past for display, and I think you're using it now for storage, but has a lot of glass around it. For years, we've been wanting to get an elevator there. So what's going to be the elevator location for that area?
Which building are you referring to, Ken? The Rock School or the brick building?
Well, I assume that would be the brick building there. I'm talking about the one that's on the corner of Main Street and what's that first street next to the
Virgin Avenue.
Virgin.
So the Rock building behind me, the Rock School, that served as the mining museum starting in 1965. That building has no elevator now. That brings you upstairs to what used to be Roundtree Gallery. It's now serving as an archive for paper and textile artifacts. And so in consultation with the architects, it was thought that the money would be better put doing other things. So we do not propose putting an elevator in the Rock School, and we leave the upper level an archive that's essentially an employee-only space.
So use the present stairs.
We just use the stairs. It's for employees, not really a public space, so it doesn't need to be accessible. And then that would be a tremendous expense. And so again, we're trying to keep costs down, pinch every penny, so we'll put those dollars somewhere else. Now, the other building, the brick Hanmer Robbins building, is blessed with an elevator already. So it has the potential to be accessible on all 3 floors, but currently one of the 3 floors, the upper floor, is closed to the public. So rather than building a new elevator in the Rock School, what we proposed, it would be a better use of funds to simply make the floor accessible in the building that already has the elevator, and thus gain a lot of usable floor space for exhibits and more useful storage in that manner. So it was kind of a nice eye-opening solution. I thought it was a neat solution.
Well, for a number of years, we talked about an elevator at the previous location, but
Right.
at the present location, that's the one that I was on the museum board at the time.
Okay.
That was about $120,000.
Right.
Thank you.
Isaac, do you have any questions? I don't know, maybe I'm Isaac? Maybe I'm frozen. All right,
Okay.
Jason, do you have any questions?
I don't have any additional questions right now, no.
Okay. How about Eileen?
No question.
No questions.
Okay, and Isaac, I think I heard you say no questions right now. Is that correct?
Correct. No questions.
Okay, and Kathy?
No questions, but a very impressive and exciting looking project. Good job with that.
Thank you.
I would echo Kathy's comments. I look forward, it was hard for me to read all of this in my online version. And so I look forward to the time when Wayne and Andrew will provide some hard copies that we can either check out or whatever and take a look at, because you're right. I think this is a very exciting project and really, really well done, Eric. I don't know how you found TKWA, but you and your staff have done an admirable job working with them and helping them understand our museum.
That's very kind. Part of why we selected TKWA is their work in Wisconsin and across the country is tremendous. All of their projects reflect a real nuanced design approach. They're amazing listeners, and they really get what we're trying to do here. And I thought they did a wonderful job. It's been a pleasure working with them.
Thank you for that. And just a note, Eric, I'll be forwarding to you some hard copy bound booklets of all the material for you to distribute.
Oh, thank you.
We'll send them out tomorrow.
Beautiful. Thanks so much.
Great. All right. Adam, did you have any question, or is there any staff member that wanted to say anything?
No, I think you guys echoed everything I was kind of thinking. Again, this is one of the reasons, obviously, as the city manager, I'm thrilled to have Eric as our museum director, just with the passion he and the staff brings, and it continues to shine through the products and the presentations that you guys see. So excited to see how we can take these ideas and make them into reality.
Yep, I suspect it's going to be a step-by-step process, Eric.
I'm ready for it.
Okay. Well, thank you, Eric, and thank you, Wayne and Andrew, and Mr. Hastings, who is not here, for this presentation. And we'll look forward to the future of our museum.
Fair enough. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, that's our special presentation for the evening. So the next thing we have on our agenda is a public hearing. This is resolution, 2110, a conditional use permit for 280 West Main Street. So Joe, I think this is yours.
That's correct. Thank you. Yeah, this is a request regarding the property at 280 West Main Street. Most recent, it's a vacant building right now, but most recently was the local liquor store. Before that, it was Spirits liquor store for many years. The applicant currently would like to turn it back into a liquor store, but with a twist. I kind of view it as kind of a meld between a liquor store and a tavern. Basically, by that, it's a liquor store that you can buy your product and take it home like normal. Or you can also, they'd like to allow for on-premise consumption of the alcohol, and that will primarily be in the form of an outdoor drinking area or beer garden that they're proposing to locate on the site. It would be in the front of the building, on primarily on the Main Street side of the building, in the area that is currently a parking lot. So what they're proposing to do is enclose that area with a black metal fence. It would be similar in style to the fencing that is around many of the public parking spaces, parking lots in the downtown area, something along those lines. And then they'd have picnic tables and tables, chairs, and so forth in that area where people could gather and have a drink and do what they like. So obviously under our ordinance, that is considered an outdoor drinking area and does require approval as a conditional use permit. So that's the reason that this is in front of the council. He also did include a kind of a rough rendering, kind of a concept sketch of what he's got in mind so you can better visualize what's being proposed. This request did go to the Plan Commission for their review at their June 7th meeting. They did recommend approval. They did have a few conditions that they'd like the council to consider. The first one is if they do have outdoor music, that no amplified music be allowed during hours when the library is open, since it is located right across the street. Some of the renderings did, and I think the application made reference to kind of those fire pits that people could gather around on a cool evening. So the recommendation that any open fire would be limited to propane only, and that the location of those fire pits be in coordination with the fire department. And then similar to what was recommended with the previous outdoor dining area on Market Street, they also are recommending that this be for the approval for the current applicant only, and if the business changes hands, that they would have to come back in for reapproval. So with those recommendations, they did recommend approval. Staff would concur and would also just add in a kind of the standard conditions that are in section 2206J of the zoning ordinance, just to make it a little bit more obvious that those standards are there and that they should be followed. That's all I have. Any questions for me at this point?
Okay, questions for Joe. Isaac, anything?
No questions.
Jason?
No questions.
Eileen?
Just a clarification, when you say amplified music, literally mean I put my radio on and then I have speakers plugged in, Joe? What amplified?
Yeah, I think that when it was at the Plan Commission, they were talking about if there was a band or actual, somebody playing music that had an amplifier that would be louder, they would be concerned about the volume of the music that might disrupt activities at the library. But if somebody was just there playing an acoustic guitar, they wouldn't have any concerns with that. So it would just be any music that would have the potential to be loud would be limited.
Okay, and then my other comment just is that I know that 10:30 Sunday through Thursday, the music is to be concluded by 10:30. 11:30 on Friday and Saturday, and I just wonder about that. I guess I would almost say 10:30 all week, simply because you've got the hotel across the street, you've got a residence across the large apartment complex across the street, and if you're visiting and you're in the hotel, and I just think that music could be pretty loud even through closed windows. So just something maybe that everybody wants to consider. I might not be right on that, but that's what I'm thinking.
Kathy, any questions?
No.
Ken, what happened to Ken?
Yes.
There he is.
Well, this is a site where there are historic districts around. This is a site that is really an entry to the city of Platteville. So it needs to be well handled, well constructed, well appearing. Now, as far as the music, I didn't catch all what Eileen said here, but no amplified music while the library is open. Does that mean there can be other music that is not amplified that will be played during that time that the library is open?
That would be correct, yes. So the example that was used at the Plan Commission is if somebody was just playing an acoustic guitar, that would be allowed because that would be a low enough volume that it wouldn't be disruptive.
And so what would be the level of music? Do you have any readings on what the music level will be? How many decibels will it be? Now, loud music to somebody may be different to somebody else that thinks the music's all right. So do you have anything as far as what the owners will plan to do as far as level of sound, level of music which is going to be presented at this particular intersection where we have historic buildings around and an entryway to the city in Platteville. Do you have any scientific basis?
Do I have any scientific basis? No, I do not.
Okay, so we're going to have differences. My next question is fire pits. I've read here in different spots. I get one spot, I get the idea there'll be one fire pit. Another idea I'm given is that to be more than one. So how many possible fire pits could there be? Just one, or how many more?
Well, at this point, there's no limit on that. I think from what a previous discussion with Mr. Olson, the applicant, he said some of those might, he wouldn't consider them fire pits. They would be the heaters, kind of those column propane heaters. He had mentioned as a possibility for when the evenings are cool, so it wouldn't be an open flame. It would just be a heating device, but I don't have any further detail on that.
Joe, that would be in direct consultation with fire department.
Right, and I think that's why the Plan Commission had made that recommendation that the fire department be included on where they're located, so there's no issues with proximity to buildings and so forth.
My next question is about parking. I assume the parking will be taken away for the area that is going to be the beer garden. So where do we expect that the people will park?
Primarily on the street. I know he had previously talked earlier about possibly keeping an area off of Elm Street that might be accessible for parking, but I'm not sure what his final plans were in that regard.
And my next question is upkeep, and this applies to all the beer gardens that we have here in the city. As far as what I've seen in past years is things such as vomit, trash. I've seen this downtown. I've seen students go along and urination. So how is this particular area going to be monitored as far as being a good example for the city of Platteville? Now, years past, I used to ride with the police where students were going along farther back toward Market Street and Furnace Street, and a pathway to places back on campus or rentals back near the campus. So how is this going to be monitored by the owner as far as something that represents a good image of Platteville? Has there been any discussion about that? Another thing, anything brought up by the owner and the operators?
Yeah, I would say definitely in the conversations that we had with Mike Holsterholtz, he has a very, kind of clear vision of what he wants this to be. And we brought up those concerns about, whenever you have an outdoor patio or a garden, what, potentially that could do. And he was very, I guess, observant of the fact that he wants it to be a place, he talked about, as you can see in the rendering, he has a playground there. He's got places to sit. So this is definitely something I think that he wants to have, all different age groups be able to go to and feel that it is a plus for the community and not a minus.
When I go downtown, I see 2 porta potties, I believe, for a beer garden. I assume that we're not going to see any porta potties coming into the city of Platteville on this main street. So those are my thoughts on this. It can be something that looks good if it's properly monitored or not. So it's going to have to be properly monitored.
So Ken, if you're worried about porta potties, that can be added as a condition of the conditional use permit, that no porta potties are allowed. Kathy, did I ask you if you had questions? Oh, Joe? Kathy? Do you have questions?
Yeah, no, I don't.
Okay. All right. Applicant statement. Is the applicant present?
Not see him listed.
I don't see him listed either. Did he register, Jody? No?
Mm.
Okay. All right, so there is no applicant statement. Next would be public statements in favor. Jody, did anybody register to speak in favor of this conditional use permit? No. How about public statements against? Did anybody register to speak against this?
I'm not sure about against, but it may be either against or public statements in general. I know we had Ellen Steflu, who I believe is on the line here on the bottom.
Yeah, I see
So
Ellen, so.
I don't know if she wants to speak under against or if she had any questions or comments in general. So
Public statements in general, is that you, Ellen? Ellen?
She's on the phone, so you might need to unmute her from our end. I don't know if she can do that on her end. I don't know how to-
I can't. You can't unmute her? Oh, we can't hear you.
Here she is. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can
Now
hear
we
you.
can hear you, Ellen.
Okay. All right. I was concerned about the parking. With the businesses on the street there and considering the dry cleaners and the other ones, where are they going to park if this place is taking up the parking?
Well, Joe, I guess the question is, who owns the place right now where people are parking for the lot, for the dry cleaner and other things? Whose land is that?
Yeah, that's part of the liquor store property, so that's a private parking lot. So with the zoning regulations downtown, there actually are no minimum parking requirements for the businesses. That's obviously was put in place because a lot of the buildings in the downtown area cover the entire lot, so it's really not feasible for many of those to provide parking. So the ordinance is written that parking is only required if a building is expanded so that the square footage is added, and then they've got to provide parking for that added area. So there is no requirement that this liquor store have parking. And obviously, even if there was no request for outdoor drinking area, he could still remove that parking and use it for something else without approval, and that would be perfectly legal. So it's really kind of up to the applicant to decide if they want to keep some of that parking or not.
So Ellen, it's a question of ownership and who owns what land. And at this point in time, the land in front of the local where people are parking to pick up their dry cleaning is actually not owned by the dry cleaner, but is owned now by Mike Osterholz.
So right in front of the dry cleaners, that is a no parking, is that correct?
Howard, you want to speak to the spot in front of the dry cleaners, the sidewalk, and the parking available on the north side of Main Street in front of the dry cleaner?
There is no legal parking space at that location. I know that people have used it. And I believe that the police department has kind of had a laissez-faire kind of an attitude with that. Doug may want to comment more on that, but it is not a legal parking spot.
They can park across the street.
Right, they can park in front of the library. Those are legal parking spots. That's true.
Correct.
Okay, Ellen, any other questions, comments?
I feel that we as a community is bringing in more things like alcohol establishments and is pushing businesses out of our town.
Okay. And so you're saying you believe this particular business would be detrimental to other businesses?
Yes, I do.
Right. Okay, I think Ellen, we're going to go on with public hearing unless you have any other comment you want to make at this time.
No, I'm just saying I'm against it. I would like to be notated that I'm against it.
Okay, all right. So we've had the public statements in favor, against, and in general. Now is time for council discussion.
Well, I'll bring back the situation of porta potties. My comment is that this facility needs to have adequate indoor facilities for men and women, and that nothing is placed outside.
Okay, so your recommendation is to add that to the list of conditions.
That's
Right now, the Plan Commission suggested no amplified music during hours when the library is open. And open fires limited to propane pits and at a location or locations approved by the fire department. Approval for only the current applicant. Change of ownership requires reapproval of a permit. Ken would like to add number 4, which would be no exterior, basically adequate restroom facilities within the facility. In other words, no porta potties on the exterior. And Eileen has suggested that the limitation be 10:30 for music, period, every day of the week, not like our ordinance says. Basically, because of our the adjacent hotel and residences. Any other discussion? I have to close my window. Can you hear the exterior noise at my house? Okay.
Barb? I have a question.
Yes. Go ahead.
Maybe a question for Joe. I don't remember the conditional use permit that we just approved for the Haas's. Did that have a 10:30 as well?
That was left to whatever is in the ordinance. Which is 10:30 Monday through Thursday and 11:30 Friday and Saturday, I believe.
Did the starting time change for that? Because she wanted starting at 5. Did that go in?
That did not make it as a condition. No, it did not.
Because of her business, she had business until 5.
That was Margaret Roof who asked that be added, and it was not added. So Kathy, the rules at the one on Furnace Street are whatever our ordinance says, which is 10:30 Sunday through Thursday, 11:30, Friday and Saturday.
Okay, I guess maybe I'm just questioning. That property also was across the street and had adjoining homeowners. We talked about the timing of it.
I think that the two adjoining property owners to the east and west are businesses that would be closed after 10:30. And then directly across the street, I think is Blue Note. So I think there are less residential properties in that area and perhaps not as many apartment buildings. I think, Eileen, were you referencing Roundtree Hall as an apartment building in the
Yes,
area?
and also the residences across the street, the Berg home, obviously on the corner and then down the street.
I think we just lost Kathy. I think so. Any other council discussion? Any other council discussion? Isaac, anything?
No, I have nothing to add on this one.
Jason?
I would just agree with what Ken said, making sure that any restrooms are indoor. And then also with Eileen's suggestion, maybe we can look at 10:30 as being the time for any loud music to end, just because it is kind of more in a centrally located part of downtown.
And Ken, anything else?
No addition at this time. We'll have to see what happens.
Eileen, anything else?
Nothing to add.
Kathy, I think you're back. Somewhere. Are you? I see you're there. I don't see that you're unmuted.
Okay, I'm bouncing from one, so hopefully this will work.
This meeting is being recorded.
Okay, can you see me now?
Oh, no.
All right, we don't know what that is, but I was making a round robin, so you're the last person. There seems to be some agreement on stopping any amplified music at 10:30, regardless of the day of the week. And then there seems to be some agreement on the restroom facilities not being porta potties outside, in addition to the other conditions that were already listed. Anything else from you? Yeah, I can't tell if she's moving. Anything else, Kathy?
No.
Okay. Then do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I move to close the public hearing.
I'll second.
Okay, a motion by Ken and a second by Eileen to close the public hearing. Candace will vote.
Shanley? You guys hear me? Shanley? Nichols?
Yes.
Hop?
Yes.
Arts?
Yes.
Doss?
Yes.
Killian?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, is there action to be proposed?
I'll move to approve a conditional use permit to allow an outdoor drinking area at 130 Market Street as proposed in the application materials, subject to the following conditions. Use is subject to conditions of section 22.06J of the zoning ordinance. No amplified music during hours when the library is open. And can we also add on there, music, any amplified music ends at 10:30 regardless of what day of the week it is. Open fire is limited to propane pits at a location approved by our fire department. The approval is for the current applicant only. Change of ownership requires a reapproval of the conditional use permits. And then add a number 5 of making sure that all restroom facilities are indoor and there is no porta potties out on the exterior of the property.
And Jason, we're going to change the address. I know in the material it says 130 Market Street. It should say 280 West Main Street. I think that's the property we're talking about.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so Jason has made a motion to adopt resolution 2110 with 5 conditions that he has listed. Do I have a second to that?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to allow this conditional use permit. And Candace, this only allows for the creation of the beer garden. There is no license yet for that, correct?
Correct. That would be
So-
a different application.
That's a different application and has to go back to the license committee. Okay, so Candace will vote on this conditional use permit.
Just to clarify what Jason had just said, so I would write it, no amplified music during hours when the library is open. However, amplified music is allowed if the library is closed until 10:30 p.m., correct? Okay, just want to make sure I got that correct. All right, Shanley.
Isaac. He must be.
I think he's frozen.
He's silent.
I will come.
Yeah.
Nichols.
He's not moving.
I'll come back. Nichols?
Yep.
Oh, there he is. Okay.
Okay. Yes.
Hop,
Yes.
Arts,
Yes.
Doss,
Yes,
Killian.
Yes,
Motion carries.
okay. We'll move on to item number 5. We have consideration of the consent calendar. The following items may be approved on a single motion and vote. Due to their routine nature, we have, if you want separate action, please let me know. We have council minutes from June 1st, the special meeting, and June 8th, a regular meeting. We have payment of bills. We have appointments to boards and commissions. There are several tonight. First, the Commission on Aging. 3 people each to serve 3-year terms ending July 1, 2024. That would be Bill Kramer, Larry McReynolds, and Ray Bamfey. A Commission on Aging appointment. It's a partial term ending July 1, 2023. A position formerly held by John Klosterman, who left town. The appointee is Ally Shanahan. The Historic Preservation Commission, a 3-year term ending May 1, 2024. That will be Ben Siegel, Seigel. A partial term on the Plan Commission ending May 1, 2023. That will be Robert Vosberg. And the Tourism Committee, 4 appointments of 1 year each ending next year on July 1. Terry Malliott, who is who's the hotel rep from Country Inn and Suites, Michael Breitner, Deb Rice, and Deb Jenny. And there are several more openings. Tonight, you might have heard 3 names you haven't heard before. Please encourage people to apply for boards and commissions. I'm very happy that we have had some new applications. So please, continue to encourage people. We have positions on the Redevelopment Authority. We have positions on the Board of Review. We have positions on the Zoning Board of Appeals. We have positions, probably another 8 positions. So those
I
are
have
the
a question. I have a
Yeah.
question.
What?
Yes, You appointed a person to replace the lady that's leaving, is that correct?
That's correct. And
I
that
did-
person is Ben Siegel.
Okay, then I contacted Colette about Fred Dillman. He was to be appointed as alternate. Did you get that information?
I did not. I did not see that yet. Sorry. Can I do that next meeting after we take a look at it? I don't think you'll have a meeting before the next meeting anyway.
Well, anyway, that he assumed that he was still on, so something happened there as far as not being appointed.
Oh, well, I don't know. We'll look into that, Ken. Licenses, a temporary Class B license to serve fermented malt beverages for Roundtree Gallery at 120 West Main Street for the Plotters Artist Reception on Friday, June 25th from 4 to 7. A temporary Class B to serve fermented malt beverages to the Platteville JCs at the Legion Field Ballpark for the July 4th celebration on Sunday, July 4th from noon to midnight. 1- and 2-year operator licenses to serve and sell alcohol as were in your packet. Taxi driver license as was in the packet. A Class B combination beer and liquor license renewal for the building premise at 280 West Main Street, and the fireworks permit for the 4th of July. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve the consent calendar.
Second.
Okay, Candace will vote.
Janley,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Pop,
Yes.
Arts,
Yes.
Doss,
Yes.
Killian.
Yes,
Motion carries.
Okay, there were several reports in the packet. Commission on Aging, Kathy, anything?
Nothing further.
The Museum Board, Eileen.
I would just like to remind everyone that on July 4th, it is Heritage Day at the museum. It's from 10 a.m. until 4 p.m. And this, I believe, is the 40th year of the Heritage Day celebration. There'll be games, there'll be food, there'll be lots of children's activities, including some activity kits. So yeah, July 4th, 10 until 4. Come to the museums and enjoy a wonderful day.
Okay, the Solid Waste and Recycled Task Force, Robin isn't here anymore. Howard, anything to report special?
Well, we had a very successful spring swap. I'll be preparing a report, final report for next time.
Okay. Police and Fire Commission, Kathy.
Nothing further.
And Library Board, anything that we should be aware of? I see Jesse is on the line. Robin is, of course, not here tonight. So Jesse, is there any item you want to highlight from the library?
Nothing to add.
I
Okay,
have a question.
go ahead, Ken.
Police and fire, I received a question about police and fire. And it's looking at this statement about we are experiencing some radio communication issues and are working with radio vendors to determine the issue and a solution for our radio communication issues. Could you elaborate on that? Let's see, that would be, is that Ryan?
That's going to be Adam.
Adam.
Yes, so we had a preliminary meeting last week, and I think I put in the weekly update that I sent on Monday. Normally went to you Friday, but what's going on there is we had a meeting where it was not only our police department, our fire department, our streets department, water and sewer, and we went over some of the concerns we are starting to find with our radios and some of the frequency issues that are being experienced departments, where depending on, we are finding issues where if you are in certain parts of the city, there is problems with communication back and forth. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. They have started to notice if they are in certain buildings or structures that they're running into interference or feedback issues. So it's something that we as staff have kind of started to dig into further, to look into talking to our current radio vendor as well as potential others to try to diagnose and come up with, I guess, options, alternatives to what we need to do. A lot of our radio systems are, they're starting to get up there in age. So that's part of our ongoing capital improvement process that we're working on, is starting to create a kind of system to start replacing those sooner than kind of when they're past the life or we've been trading into other departments. So it's something that we're trying to do kind of the due diligence right now. And then we will be bringing that to the council to kind of discuss after we've kind of had a preliminary research with all the different companies and had a chance as staff to kind of review, what we think are the best kind of process improvements or next steps.
Thank you.
Okay. Library. So I think we're through the reports. Let's go to our action items for tonight. We have resolution 21-11, the 2020 compliance maintenance annual report. Howard.
Thank you. As we said last time, this is an annual report. It's self-report of the wastewater treatment plant and our collection system. We graded A in all areas in 2020. We have an excellent treatment plant, exceptional staff, and our outlook is favorable. So the requirement here is that you as the council need to pass a resolution basically saying that you accept our report and allow us as staff to forward it on to the DNR.
Okay, we took a look at this the last time. I'm sure that Howard Water and Sewer has taken a look at it since. I'm sure Isaac would concur with that, and Ken, and I'm sure that any typos that were able to be corrected that were not part of the original document have been addressed. So any additional questions? Isaac?
No additional questions, and it appears that the corrections have been made.
Jason?
No questions.
Ken?
No questions. I just want to thank the staff for making the typo changes. Those may seem insignificant, but I recall back to, I served on the second task force for Roundtree Hall, and I served with 2 English teachers. And we reviewed proposals for what to do with Roundtree Hall. Well, those 2 English teachers found quite a few typos in some of those documents, and they promptly threw those documents out. So there are times when this sort of thing gets to be very important. You may think it's trivial, but don't think that, because for some people it's very important. Thank you.
Thank you. Kathy, any questions, comments, or?
No, just to restate that congratulations, I love getting A's.
And Eileen?
No, I would echo that as well. Thank you very much to the staff for an excellent job.
Okay, so do I hear anybody who wants to propose an action on resolution 2111?
I would move to approve resolution 2111, accepting the compliance maintenance annual report for 2020 and authorizing staff to submit the report.
Second.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Eileen, and I think Ken beat to Kathy, so a second by Ken. Candace will vote.
Stanley,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Cop,
Yes.
Arts,
Yes.
Doss,
Yes.
Killian.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, the next thing on our agenda then is the, it's been here a while, and we're going to put it off the agenda maybe tonight. The City of Platteville mission statement.
That is right.
Mr. Adam.
All right, so as kind of Council President Doss indicated, we've had this on here for a while. It's gone through a couple of different iterations and tweaks. So what I'm looking for tonight is essentially a motion from the council to approve the updated City of Platteville vision statement, which again is directly from our kind of comprehensive plan that was done in 2013 and was very similar, but just kind of updated a little bit to kind of be 2021. And then also looking for the mission statement to be kind of finalized so that both communication specialist Richards and I can start putting that information out officially on the website, putting that in any kind of documents that we have going forward. And then what also we'd be looking for is the approval from the council to do a marketing challenge to the community in regards to a motto statement. So we kind of had two examples that were decided or kind of agreed upon by the council, which was discovering the Driftless region came out, and also Platteville, a city with a can-do spirit. And the kind of promotional challenge that we're going to do as kind of a marketing campaign is to see what other community members can come up with, and then that'll come back to the council. So we're looking really for kind of a motion that encompasses three things: updating the vision statement, the mission statement, and allowing staff to kind of conduct the market challenge. So that's what we got.
Okay, Isaac.
No questions.
Okay, Jason,
No questions.
Ken,
This model statement, do you have two there?
Yes. So those are kind of tentative examples. So that's what we were going to utilize that obviously when we do the marketing campaign to kind of showcase what a motto could be. And then when we get others, our plan is to bring those back to you as council members to kind of make a final decision if you want to go with multiple, or if there's one really that stands out as, oh, that's it.
Well, I like the discovering the driftless region. It's broader than just talking about Platteville.
well, I think tonight we're, the question, Ken, is adopting the mission and the vision statement, and then enabling staff to do a market challenge and challenge our residents to also submit possible mottos, yes.
Mhm.
Okay. Kathy,
No questions.
Eileen,
No question.
okay. Folks, do I hear anybody proposing any action?
I'll move to approve the updated City of Platteville vision statement, mission statement, and also to conduct a marketing challenge for the community to provide model statements for the council to vote on at a later meeting.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to adopt the mission and vision statement and to enable staff to conduct a marketing challenge. Candace will vote.
Shanley,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Cop,
Yes.
Arts,
Yes.
Doss,
Yes.
Killian.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, that concludes the action items for tonight. So on our information and discussion, we have repeal and recreate Resolution 2102, Platteville Functional Classification of Street, Longhorn Drive. Howard.
Yes, very long title. Sorry about that. Back in January, we did the functional classification of streets. And we were under the impression that Longhorn Drive could not be designated as minor arterials or other types of streets because it was a private street owned by the university. We went ahead, we passed that resolution back in January. DOT submitted our resolution to the Federal Highway Administration, and they reversed the decision and said that since the University of Wisconsin-Platteville is a public institution, that we can and should be able to designate that street on our functional classifications. And so we're back to repeal the old action and institute the new one, which would designate Longhorn Drive as a minor arterial in this functional classification. I've proposed this to the university and they're still wrestling with it, but it's kind of out of their hands because, you know, it's the Federal Highway Administration that's kind of got the got the hammer on this one. So that's the only change from what we did back in January. So I'm recommending that we go ahead and we pass this so that we can submit this at our next meeting.
Okay, so the only change is the addition of Longhorn Drive to this, omitted before because it was a private street, but now by Federal Highway Administration decree, we should be including it. Questions, Isaac?
No questions at this time.
Jason?
Nope.
Ken?
No question.
Kathy?
No questions.
Eileen?
No questions.
Okay, then we'll move this on for action at our first meeting in July. The final information and discussion item, American Rescue Plan Act funding potentials. Adam, and we will have a work session on this, so please let us know when that might be too.
Yes, so not too much to add to this one, but as kind of Council President Doss indicated, our intention is to have a work session when we return to the council chambers on July 13th. So that is going to be the plan for that. So I will be sending out kind of what I'm going to consider your homework assignment for that work session as council members is going to be to start thinking about what items you specifically would like to see these dollars utilized for. Obviously, there is the staff recommendation of 3 areas that we've kind of talked about a couple of times that would seem to make sense. One of them certainly would be upgrades to the council chambers, as well as the auditorium, potentially some city hall specific sites that because of COVID were not able to be utilized, or as we're seeing because of Zoom, and when we're going to be returning to in-person meetings, there's that combination of it's very hard, as we've seen, to have a hybrid method. So in order to do that, we truly would need to do some very deep upgrades to the building to be prepared, not only to enhance the experience, but also be prepared for potentially future issues that we may have with pandemic related incidents. Obviously, some of the other areas that can be discussed are particularly funding for services, whether that would be behavioral health or potentially grant programs. There is at the July 13th meeting, we also should have a presentation in regards to our finances. So we'll have a better idea of where 2020 was. So there is some consideration to obviously some of this funding can be utilized to more or less replenish some of those lost revenue areas that we saw due to COVID-19. There's the conversation of premium payments for employees. And the big one I would say that the majority of municipalities have been looking at is the investment in water, sewer, and broadband. And so obviously that is one that staff has definitely recommended we look at, specifically with some stormwater projects that we are aware of that due to COVID-19 kind of got pushed back, potentially for economic development reasons. So those would be discussed. So again, I will send obviously all of this to you as council members in an email with the information and kind of the actual document if you want to read 150 pages. But otherwise, this is pretty much summarizing all that information. But again, the homework kind of game plan will be at the work session will be kind of similar to how we did the strategic plan, is looking at, kind of putting maybe some whiteboards up and kind of thinking about, okay, let's go through kind of some options, some scenarios of what you would like to see as council members. And then that'll hopefully give staff kind of a consensus on areas to look at so that when we do get this funding, we can start planning that either in our CIP or in our budget. We did get verification, so kudos to obviously Director Maurer and the finance team. They did submit everything, so we did get verification that the DOR did receive our submission, so we should be good there. So we are anticipating somewhere in July or August, we should be getting the first half of the about $1.2 million, and then again, we would receive the second half in 2022. So that's the update.
Okay. And so folks, let's be prepared to have that discussion in a work session on July 13th. All right, I am looking then for one more motion tonight. We have a closed session scheduled per Wisconsin statute 1985, parent 1, parent G, for the governmental body who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is or is likely to become involved. This is conferring with legal counsel regarding the Faraday claim. So I would seek a motion to go into closed session and then to, without action tonight, and then to adjourn from adjourn the meeting from closed sessions. There is no action slated in the closed session tonight. So a motion to go into, okay?
Second.
Moved by Isaac, seconded by Kathy. Candace will vote.
Hanley,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Cop,
Yes.
Arts,
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
Killian.
Yes.
Motion carries.
And as per usual, we will leave this meeting and reconvene in a new meeting. Thank you.